guys, it's Rhonda. Welcome to my channel and thank you for joining me today for another process video. Today I'm working on a 12 by 12 layout that is going to go in my Grand Teton Yellowstone vacation album, and it's featuring those two photos that you just saw there of the buffalo. Now, funny story about these buffalo, and this is why they get their own 12 by 12 layout. These were the first buffalo that we had seen so far on our trip. Now, this is the morning of day 3. We were headed out, we'd stayed the night in West Yellowstone, and we were headed into Yellowstone. I think we were going to some geyser basin. But up to this point, I had been really disappointed in the lack of buffalo sightings. I think that, we get led to believe that there's buffalo just roaming everywhere in Yellowstone, and you see them all the time, and they block up the roads, and that was definitely not the case in our situation. We just did not see any buffalo up until this point. And I love buffalo. I've seen buffalo before, but I wanted to see Yellowstone buffalo. So as we left that morning, as we were driving into the park, we saw a wildlife crossing sign and it had a buffalo on it. And I was joking with my husband and I said, well, here's why we haven't seen any buffalo. There's only one. The sign right there just shows that there's a buffalo in Yellowstone. So it was just kind of a funny joke of the morning. Well, then we were driving along and lo and behold, we saw a buffalo on the side of the road. So he was out there by himself enjoying, the morning sunlight and having some breakfast. So I decided to pull over and take a picture of him. And then he was joined out of nowhere by this other buffalo. So I spent some time just taking pictures of these two guys, and I wanted to include our very first Yellowstone buffalo on a 12 by 12 layout. So that is what I am working on. Up to this point in my album, all of my layouts have been pretty much fall based. I have a lot of really fall colored, fall photo based layouts. Now, I mentioned before this vacation was the quintessential fall trip. We were there the last week of September, the first week of October, and the fall colors were unbelievable, both in the Teton National Park and in Yellowstone. But when I looked at these pictures, to me, they just didn't scream fall. There's a little bit of fall color in the grasses on the bottom of the photos, but to me, what stood out was the green pine trees. And so that's kind of what I wanted to pull from to create this layout. So when I went to my stash to pull the items that I wanted to use for this layout, automatically my eye was drawn to the green of this Kaisercraft Fallen Leaves collection. I've used this in other layouts. I've used it in pocket pages, and I just love this collection. I love the ephemera. I love the paper patterns. I love everything about it. So I decided to do kind of a monochromatic green layout using strictly the Kaisercraft collection. And I just really like the way that this all came together. So the papers, the ephemera, even the alphas that I use to create my title all come from the Kaisercraft Fallen Leaves. So what I've done is taken that paper, that background paper. To me, it looks like bamboo. Every time I see it, I think it is bamboo paper. I'm sure it's not, but that is what sticks in my head every time I see it. So I've used that paper as my background, and then I've chosen a couple other pieces of paper to cut various width of paper strips to create this layout. So I've got the two papers. That paper that I showed earlier with the words on it is actually a branding strip from one of the papers. And I think it's just perfect. I love the words on it, so I wanted to make sure and use that as well. So then I've taken my photos and mounted them on, I believe it was a leaf paper. Obviously, with my photos on there, you can't really tell, but I do like the way it stands out from the background. And I just realized too that my sweater is also green. Honest, guys, I didn't even plan that, but look at that's kind of perfect. But so I'm just laying down those strips of paper and I've added my photos on there. And so now I'm going to start playing around with my embellishments. And I went through my stash and I pulled out all of the Kaisercraft, anything green, various colors of green that would work with this layout. And these are actually from the ephemera pack. I didn't have to cut them myself, which is always a bonus. So I went ahead and added those little flags to the top of the page, and I'm just going to ink those edges. Again, makes everything pop from the background so that it doesn't all blend in, creates a little bit of definition between all of my different patterns. And I've got that bumper sticker. And I really wanted to use it on this layout because, first of all, it has a buffalo on it. And second of all, the colors just went really, really well with it. So I had definitely intended to use that bumper sticker, but I don't end up using it on this layout. I'll use it somewhere else. So I'm spending some time just playing around with these embellishments and trying to figure out exactly how I want them to be. Now, this bird wasn't my first go-to. I did see him sitting there in my pile of green stash over there to the side. And when I put him up next to this photo, he worked perfectly. His colors match almost perfectly with the grasses in the bottom of that photo. So that little bird stays here. Now, one thing that this album has taught me is that I just need to commit and glue things down and move on, because I could spend hours moving embellishments around and playing and layering and just trying to get the perfect embellishment cluster. But I just need to commit, glue it down, and move on and work with what I've got. So that's kind of what I focused on this little cluster, because I could have played with it forever. So I just decided to glue down my little bird, and then that pretty much completes the ephemera pieces that I'm going to add down there. So I've got a couple pieces pulled. I've pulled out that green ticket, and that's going to go up there as well as that pine cone, which I kind of thought the pine cone worked perfectly with this layout too. So again, all of these clusters, or I'm sorry, all of these embellishments just work together so well. So that's going to complete the top right-hand portion of that. So I've gone ahead and used the wax paper trick to lay out my title. So my title for this layout is obviously going to be Where the Buffalo Roam. It isn't super creative, but it just struck me and I just had to use it. So now I know I want to do something on the left-hand side of that layout. I just don't know what it's going to be yet. So while I'm thinking about what I want to do over there, I pull out this Carrie Bradford Studio Greater Yellowstone stamp set. And I've mentioned this in other videos before, but I've used the heck out of this stamp set. It's Greater Yellowstone, and it also has Teton stamps in it, so I've used it numerous times throughout this album. And this one I've kind of saved because it's a buffalo. So I pulled out the buffalo stamp, and then the words that I picked to go with it say "Be One with Nature." So I just thought that was kind of cute. I'm just using the walnut stain distress ink to add that to the library card, and then that is pretty much going to complete that cluster down there. I do add some enamel dots later, but for the most part, that one is almost completed as well. So now I'll go back over to that left-hand side, and what I decide to do is pull out the sticker sheet that came with this Kaiser Craft Fallen Leaves collection, and I pull out that sticker that says "Take time to breathe it all in." And I chose it primarily for the size because it just works in that small little space that I've got over there. And when I put it down, I really loved the horizontal look of the sticker with the vertical look of the paper. So I decided to just kind of leave it as it is and not add any other embellishments over there, and I think that it really works. So as I mentioned, I do go back and add some enamel dots to this layout, and I do add a couple onto the sticker, but for the most part, that is done. So then I'm going to turn my attention to my title, and I do stick this down, and I have a tough time with these letter stickers. So I don't know what it is lately. It seems like every alpha that I use, I really have a hard time getting them to stick. I have to go back and glue them down. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that as well, but kind of frustrating. So I decide that I need something else up there with my title, and I pull out this Tim Holtz leaf punch, and I pull out some of the green. I thought that it needed a little bit more light green up there at the top. So that's just the back side of one of the papers I had been using. So I went ahead and glued down that leaf. And then I think that I want to use that other light green leaf somewhere. And I just decide that enough is enough. I just really have to kind of convince myself to stop. So I just leave it as it is. So then I go back and I'm going to add some enamel dots, and that's pretty much going to complete this layout. So thank you guys so very much for joining me today. I'm hoping that you found some inspiration. If you did, please like this video. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. I love sharing layouts with you guys and techniques. If you have a comment for me, leave it for me below. But until next time, I will see you guys again soon. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.